After the winter vacation, a new roommate came to the dormitory. She especially liked girls, but was disgusted by boys. The next day, we found that all the cosmetics in the dormitory had gone to her drawer. She said to us, "Are you putting on makeup to please boys?" Later, when she met my boyfriend, she deliberately put on exquisite makeup. She took my hand and said coquettishly to my boyfriend, "You are not allowed to take away my baby," in private. But she sent him some ambiguous messages. I really couldn't stand it anymore, so I went to talk to her face to face to sort things out. On social media, she introduced herself as the daughter of the Johnson family and an independent woman. This attracted a lot of followers. She thanked the guys who had sent her gifts while crying. Just because I don't please men, she bullied me like this. I couldn't help but laugh. I didn't know my parents had such a daughter. Today is the welcome party after the start of the semester. I'm going to be the host. After class, I went back to the dormitory. The first thing I did was get ready to put on makeup, but I found that all my makeup products were gone. I looked at the empty cabinet. I exclaimed in surprise, "Where did all my makeup go?" My roommate Emily is also performing at the party. She said anxiously, "My makeup is also gone." Another roommate heard the sound. She also opened the drawer to check. As a result, we found that all three of our makeup products were gone. We looked at each other. We were puzzled. Then our new roommate Sophia walked in humming a song. Emily quickly said, "Sophia, can I borrow your cosmetics? We can't find ours." I reminded her, "By the way, you should also check to see if your cosmetics have been stolen." Sophia looked at us. With a puzzled expression on her face she said, "You are so beautiful. Why do you need to wear makeup? Who are you dressing up for? Are you trying to please someone?" I had just dragged my suitcase into the dormitory. A figure pounced on me. She embraced me and said, "Hello, I'm your new roommate, Sophia." And with that, she let go of me. Turning to the other roommates, she said with a smile, "I like girls. I don't like boys. So you are all my babies." There had been an empty bed in our dormitory. The tutor had long since said that new roommates would be arranged after the start of the semester. I didn't think it would be a big deal if there was a new roommate, but she started lecturing us as soon as she arrived. I didn't understand what she was talking about. I looked at the clock. I said a little anxiously, "I still have to host the evening party tonight. Sophia, you should check if your cosmetics are still there." Sophia walked back to her seat slowly. She quickly pulled open the drawer. When she opened it, it was full of cosmetics. Emily saw it. She said excitedly, "Sophia, your cosmetics are still there." Sophia said anxiously, "You can lend them to us. I'm going to perform at the party tonight too." After saying that, she slammed the drawer shut. He hung the lock on the back of his hand. I frowned, finally understanding. "Sophia, what are you doing by putting our cosmetics in your drawer?" Emily understood at once after hearing this. Sophia put the key to the drawer in her pocket. Pretending to be troubled, she said, "Honey, you guys should go to the party if you want to. Why do you have to wear makeup? Is it that you can't host without makeup?" Emily can't perform without makeup. I don't understand why Sophia would say such a thing. Maybe she's had some unpleasant encounter outside. Emily angrily said after hearing this, "What exactly do you mean by that? The boys who go to perform also wear makeup. Why don't you say they are being competitive?" Sophia looked at her in surprise, blinking her eyes. "Honey, are you looking for an excuse to please the boys?" They argued more and more fiercely. I don't think we'll make it in time. Walking straight up to her and said, "Give me the key. Give back our makeup. You are committing theft. Understand?" Emily also stamped her feet in a hurry, saying, "We're really going to be late." Unexpectedly, Sophia walked straight to the window. She threw the key out with one hand. She pretended to be aggrieved and said, "Oops, I dropped it outside by accident. Why don't you go and look for it?" I was so angry I could hardly breathe, but there was no time to think. I took Emily and left. Later, I found the female hostess who was with me. I borrowed the cosmetics from her. That solved the problem. Fortunately, The orientation party was not affected, but it made us feel uncomfortable when someone suddenly took our things. I was going to go back that night and ask Sophia for an explanation, but she didn't come back all night. The next day, when I was about to go to class, I suddenly felt something was wrong. I looked at the date and realized it was indeed the time of my period. I opened the cabinet to find a pad, but I realized I had already run out. There was nothing I could do. I could only ask, "Do you have any sanitary napkins? I've run out. I forgot to buy any." As soon as I said that, Sophia threw a pack of sanitary napkins at me. At that moment, I began to doubt whether I had misunderstood her. Perhaps she was just particularly concerned about gender issues. After going to the bathroom, I hurried to class. As soon as I entered the classroom, I noticed that everyone was looking at me with strange expressions. Their stares were so direct I couldn't help wondering if I had something on my face. I had just sat down when a boy who had previously chased after me suddenly said out loud, "Isabella, thank goodness you didn't say yes to me. I never thought you would be so inconsiderate." As soon as he had finished speaking, people began to whisper. I was a little confused, but the curious stares and the harsh discussions made me restless, until I heard the conversation behind me. "What's going on? I'm late. Did I miss something interesting?" Sophia just mentioned that she had run out of sanitary napkins. She had to borrow some from someone else because she was menstruating today. I didn't understand. What did that have to do with her private life? You're unbelievable. Who doesn't carry sanitary napkins with them? Unless they know they're pregnant, then they probably won't have any. Sophia mentioned earlier that she had seen her retching in the toilet. Now she should no longer be suffering from morning sickness, and her period has returned to normal. I looked at Sophia in surprise. I never thought it was her who spread the rumors about me. I had no grudges against her. Why would she do that? I was about to stand up and go ask her for an explanation, but then the bell rang for class. The teacher said that she would choose a representative for the class. She said that whoever could come up and explain this problem would be the representative. I happened to know how to solve the problem, so I raised my hand. The teacher saw me raise my hand. She nodded and said, "You're the one." I was about to stand up, but Sophia suddenly raised her voice and said, "Teacher, she's got her period today. It's not convenient for her to get up. Let me do it." As soon as she said this, there was another round of whispering in the classroom. During the whole lesson, I tried hard to restrain my anger. Finally, when the class was over, I walked directly up to Sophia. Frowning, I asked her, "Why did you make up that rumor about me? I only ran out of sanitary napkins last month." Sophia looked innocent and said with a puzzled expression, "Baby, you've got me all wrong. I only said you ran out of sanitary napkins. You were retching in the dormitory before, and today is finally your period. So I asked everyone to take care of you a bit more." I couldn't tell if she really didn't understand or was pretending not to know. I said angrily, "You said that, and they all thought it was me." Sophia packed up her books, stood up and interrupted. "Baby, don't feel ashamed of your period," she continued. "Do you think menstruation is something to be ashamed of?" She had actually mentioned menstrual shame. I gritted my teeth with anger. There's nothing to be ashamed of, but there's no need to broadcast it like that. You said that. Everyone else misunderstood. Do you know how fast rumors spread? Sophia froze for a moment. Her eyes immediately reddened and lowered her head, crying. The boy who had previously courted me saw this. He immediately pushed me away. He said, "Isabella, you behaved badly yourself. Why are you angry with Sophia? She did it for your own good." Even if Sophia didn't say anything, I could see that there was something wrong with you. She seemed very cold, but in reality, she wasn't that simple. Humph. She even rejected me at the beginning. I heard what he said. I was furious. I was about to argue back, but then some other classmates came to Sophia's defense. In the end, it was me who was accused of bullying her. She told everyone that day that I had my period. I was so angry that my stomach hurt even more. I really don't understand people like that. From that day on, I deliberately avoided Sophia. Even though we lived together, I tried to avoid her as much as possible. That was until my birthday. Sophia unexpectedly gave me a box of chocolates. On the day after winter vacation ended and school started, I sent birthday invitations to my classmates. Sophia naturally received one as well. However, Because of what had happened before, I was still a little wary of her. I just said thank you lightly. After I finished applying my makeup, I took out the tweed skirt that my mother had custom made for my birthday party from the closet. But as soon as I opened the box, I froze. The tweed skirt was actually torn. I held the skirt in my hands. My hands kept shaking. My voice was stiff as I asked, "Who did this?" Sophia turned her head and smiled at me and said, "You're welcome, baby. It's so cold. Why are you wearing a skirt? Are you trying to attract attention?" "I just want to look pretty on my birthday." "Is that a crime?" I didn't want to say anything more to her. I just went out and bought a new skirt. Unexpectedly, Sophia, who had always opposed us dressing up, actually wore a delicate makeup to my birthday party. I recognized the lipstick on her lips at once. It was my limited edition lipstick. At that time, my boyfriend Michael and I were sitting together. Sophia suddenly squeezed in between us. She grabbed my hand and said coquettishly to Michael, "Don't you dare take away my baby." Sophia said, "You sit next to me. I want to sit with my baby." I now hear her calling my baby all the time. It feels very uncomfortable. I smile and say to everyone is here. Let's eat. During the meal, Michael peels a bowl of shrimp for me and hands it to me. Every time Sophia stops me, she says with a smile, "You can't serve my baby. Don't think you can trick me with these little tricks." After saying that, and poured the shrimp into her own bowl, she began to eat with relish. I couldn't understand what was wrong with Sophia today. She was especially enthusiastic towards me. After Michael got up to go to the bathroom, she let go of my arm and stopped talking to me. After a while, she left her seat. I didn't have time to pay attention to her. I was having a good time chatting with other friends. My phone suddenly vibrated. It was a message from Michael. "Isabella, is this your roommate from earlier?" He immediately sent a screenshot. It was a screenshot of Sophia's request to add Michael as a friend. The request message read, "I don't approve of you being with my baby." The second message was, "Hurry up and get out of the bathroom. I'll tell you a secret about her." After reading this, I immediately went to the bathroom. When I got there, I saw Sophia at the door. She was smiling and patting Michael's chest lightly. She then asked, "Right, there's nothing special between you and my child, is there?" She added, "Isabella had accidentally gotten pregnant before. She was still recuperating. You mustn't bother her. She really does talk behind my back." I was furious. I walked over to her, pushed her away forcefully, and shouted angrily, "Sophia, is this what you mean by love your daughter but hate your son?" I never thought. Sophia suddenly fell to the ground. Tears were in her eyes. She looked very aggrieved. "Baby, I really didn't want to get close to your boyfriend. We just happened to bump into each other in the bathroom. I thought of you as a friend. Why do you think of me as a love rival?" Hearing her say these words, I was momentarily stunned. I never said those words. Why did she make something up? But soon, I understood her intentions. Maybe it was because we were making too much noise on our side. The classmates who came to my birthday party gathered around. Isabella always thinks too much. As soon as she sees a man and a woman together, she thinks they must be having an affair. Just now, Sophia kept calling Isabella baby and saying she liked her. I almost believed it. How could I possibly seduce her boyfriend? Isabella herself is not a good person. She probably thinks everyone is problematic. Don't get close to Isabella and her boyfriend. Otherwise, you might be accused of being a third party. My birthday party ended so hastily. We didn't even have time to serve the birthday cake. I didn't even get a chance to make a wish. No matter how I explained it, my classmates all thought I was bullying Sophia. Only my 2 roommates believed me. After that day, I applied to the counselor to change dorms, but the procedures were quite cumbersome. It was slow going. My 2 roommates also began to deliberately avoid Sophia, worried that she would turn around and accuse them. Unexpectedly, a few days later, Sophia even started a live stream directly in the dormitory. She said with tears in her eyes, "I didn't expect that I would be bullied like this after moving into a new dormitory." Yes, she behaved badly herself, and slandered me for being a third party. She also encouraged the people in the dormitory to ostracize me. It's really helpless. I opened her live stream. The screen was full of insults against me. "She's not pretending to be weak, is she?" Sophia. Ignore her. She probably looks at you and sees someone who's rich and pretty. So she's jealous. Sophia, don't cry. It really hurts me to see you like this. I'll buy you another gift. Sophia pretended to wipe away non-existent tears. You all know, I don't want to please men at all. Thanks for the carnival, Big Brother. The live broadcast room was very hot. Even the students in our class were in it. That day, Sophia was indeed pushed to the ground in public by Isabella. I just found out that our classmate Sophia is actually a rich girl. Have you seen her homepage? The photos she posted of luxury cars. Sophia saw this comment and laughed. That car was a gift from my parents for my adulthood. She claimed to be the daughter of the Johnson Group. That is, the Johnson family that everyone knows. At the same time, she also emphasizes that she is a woman of the new era. These two labels have made her attract a lot of fans. Everyone calls her the Great Lady. Seeing this, I couldn't help but laugh. I had no idea my parents had a daughter like this. I opened her homepage. Her videos are full of luxury cars, mansions, and all kinds of designer bags and luxury goods. But I felt very familiar looking at these photos, because they are all things in my house. Since she was able to film my house and the cars in the parking lot, an idea suddenly occurred to me. I sent my parents a message. Among the people we hired, is there anyone surnamed Johnson? It wasn't long before my parents replied, no, daughter. What's wrong? I was about to reply. The door to the dormitory suddenly got knocked on. A girl holding a bouquet of flowers said, I'm the campus errand girl. These flowers are from Michael. Emily, who had opened the door, immediately turned to look at me. She said, Isabella, your boyfriend has sent you flowers. I stood up, a little puzzled. The messenger girl looked at her phone. She asked me, are you Sophia? Hearing this name, I didn't know what to say for a moment. I asked blankly, who are these for? The girl asked again. These flowers are for Sophia. Are you Sophia? Before I could answer, Sophia quickly came over. She took the flowers and said, I'm Sophia. With a bang, the errand girl closed the door and left. I felt like I'd been hit by lightning. I stood there dumbfounded. Emily asked in surprise, how could this happen? Was there a mistake? Sophia held the flowers and looked worriedly at her phone. I didn't think he would chase me. This is even more difficult to explain. She turned her head and looked at me. She said, Isabella, you don't mind, do you? I really don't know why this happened. The comments on the live broadcast instantly boiled over. Everyone left messages. Sophia, don't blame yourself too much. This shows that you are very attractive. One is the Johnson family's daughter. The other is rude. Is there any need to choose? Sophia looked at me while she laughed. That's enough. Stop it, guys. I'm not that easy to woo. You can't win me over with a bunch of flowers. It's not that simple. I ignored him. I took out my phone and looked at it. Michael had just sent me a text message. He said he wanted to break up with me. Let's break up. I don't have any feelings for you anymore. I looked at the card on the flowers again. It said, for Sophia, the Johnson family's eldest daughter. Suddenly, I felt very ridiculous. It seems I've misjudged the person. I immediately blocked Michael. I was about to turn on the computer to do group work, but Sophia was still live streaming. She kept talking and talking. She had previously suffered from irregular menstruation due to a lack of care for her body. I lent her sanitary napkins. I also asked my classmates to pay more attention to her physical condition, but she came to argue with me instead. Girls are supposed to help each other. If there is a similar situation in the future, I'll still give her sanitary napkins. She said, don't be jealous that I'm a rich girl. My parents have never spent time with me, especially my father. I doubt he has someone else on the side. Sigh. Men are all the same. She had a lot of fixed ideas about wealthy families. No matter how busy my parents were at work, they would find time to spend with me. Their relationship had always been very good. They loved each other. I grew up in such a loving family. Hearing her spread such rumors, my parents clenched their fists in anger and shouted, shut up. You're not the Johnson family's daughter. Don't talk nonsense. Sophia looked at the other person with a confused expression. If I'm not the Johnson family's daughter, then are you? Without waiting for me to speak, she burst out laughing. Since someone doubts my identity, then this weekend I'll go home and broadcast live from there, and you are welcome to come over and hang out with us. Who is right and who is wrong? The truth will come out. This weekend? Yes. My parents are both away on business this weekend. I thought to myself, since they are both away, I don't need to go back. The people in the live broadcast room started to discuss. Someone said, Isabella thinks she is the Johnson family's daughter because her last name is also Johnson. It's really laughable. Let's see how the imposter will suffer in the future. This is really rare. How can someone be so brazen? Oh my, do I really have a chance to visit the mansion? Sophia has free access to my home. She also knows exactly when there is someone at home and when there is no one. This makes me sure that she is the daughter of one of the employees in the family. But whose family is it? I can't think of anyone with the surname Johnson. From that day on, Sophia also stopped for a few days. Until Friday, I suddenly started to vomit and defecate. That day, I was supposed to go for an interview for the position of assistant to the headmaster. In order to prepare, I stayed up late writing the script. But unexpectedly, I suddenly had a physical problem today. I ran to the toilet several times. I was completely exhausted. I felt weak all over. Even walking felt difficult. But I really didn't eat anything wrong. There was nothing I could do. I had to give up on the interview. I missed the opportunity. At noon, I had just come out of the bathroom. I saw a figure standing in front of my desk. It was Sophia. She was adding something to my diet meal. I quickly called out to her. She was startled. I no longer had the energy to get angry. Weakly, I asked, "What did you add here?" Sophia's eyes wandered. She looked visibly uneasy. "Don't you want to lose weight? I added laxatives to your fat-burning meals. I wanted you to lose weight faster." I held onto the bed. Without saying a word, she immediately became aggressive. "I told you to lose weight. I told you to dress nicely. Who are you losing weight for? Aren't you just trying to attract someone's attention?" I laughed at her words. "Is there nothing in your head except for men and women? Can't I think about myself? I gained a lot of weight during the spring festival. When I went to the gym, the trainer told me that my body fat percentage was too high. It would be difficult to build muscle. I looked at my body fat percentage. It was indeed on the high side. If I didn't control it, it would soon exceed the normal range. So I started to reduce my body fat, not only to make my muscles more visible, but also for my health." Sophia raised an eyebrow and said, "Do you believe that yourself?" And said it was for yourself. "You always like to please men. Hate that all men are fascinated by you." Her mouth curled up slightly. She laughed. "By the way, I almost forgot to tell you. I successfully passed the interview for the assistant principal." Then, she winked and asked mysteriously, "Guess what manuscript I used to pass?" I suddenly remembered. When I came back from the bathroom in the morning, Sophia had just stopped by my desk. I looked at her in surprise. I asked, "You took my draft. This is the beloved daughter you mentioned." Sophia asked with a puzzled expression. "Who on earth is playing these silly games? And who is trying to curry favor?" She continued, "What I have achieved on my own is a display of independence. An independent woman should focus more on her own needs and interests." She sneered a little. Then she turned around and was about to leave. Although I no longer had the energy to argue with her, but I still felt suffocated. That draft. But I had worked day and night for 3 consecutive days to finish it. I was already sad enough about this missed opportunity. Unexpectedly, Sophia had actually stolen my hard work. I grabbed the book on the table and threw it at her. "How could you do that?" Sophia was hit in the head by the book. She let out a cry of pain. "Hurry and cover your head with your hands." She turned her head. The angry expression on her face only lasted a moment. It disappeared. Then, she looked aggrieved. She said, "Isabella, I came to see you out of goodwill. Why did you throw a book at me? Just because I passed the interview?" Before long, several classmates hurried from the dormitory door. They all gathered around Sophia, asking after her health. While they asked about her condition with concern, they looked at me with disapproving eyes. "Isabella, you couldn't go to the interview because you weren't feeling well. How can you blame Sophia? You couldn't go yourself. Does that mean no one else can go to the interview? And you threw a book at her. That's clearly bullying, Sophia. This is too much. I'm unable to defend myself. I can only lie weakly on the bed. I turn off the voice recording on my phone. I close my eyes and plan to rest for a while. Before long, the weekend is here. Sophia's live stream is scheduled for 2 p.m. She also invited many classmates to go with her. I slowly packed my things. At 2:30 p.m., I arrived at my house. As soon as I entered, everyone froze. Sophia was no exception, but she quickly recovered. She said, "I don't think I invited you to my house. Did I? Why did you just walk in? Please leave." A familiar voice came from behind me. "Isabella, Isabella, you're so shameless. You pretend to be so innocent, but you're actually so vain." Michael is someone I met at university. We were in love for a year. I never told him about my family, because I wanted our relationship to be simple and pure, but I never imagined that he would be the one to bring impurity into our relationship. When he mistakenly thought that Sophia was the daughter of the Johnson family, he broke up with me immediately, and went after Sophia. Because he started it, the others followed suit and started accusing her too. That's right. She bullied Sophia at school. Now she has the nerve to come to someone's house. Last time I went to their dormitory, I saw Isabella hit Sophia with a book. "Isn't this trespassing?" Sophia walked up to me. She smiled and said, "Since you don't want to leave, then apologize to me, okay? As long as you bow to me and admit your fault, I'll let bygones be bygones. You can still come to my house to play." I sneered a little and said, "That's ridiculous. You're the one who should leave." Sophia's live broadcast suddenly saw a huge increase in viewers today. Our Sophia is really kind-hearted. She's even willing to forgive people like this. After all, Sophia is a woman of the new era. She has always supported women. Isabella really didn't do the right thing. She's still making things difficult for Sophia. Sophia walked up to me. She deliberately tilted the goblet. The red wine in the glass spilled all over my face. She wiped her hand over my face. She smiled. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to." I can't open my eyes because of the red wine. I could hear their harsh laughter in my ears. "Sophia, what's wrong with you?" Just as she said this, a warm towel gently wiped across my face. She slowly wiped the red wine off my face, crying, "Miss, I'm sorry. I really don't know why my daughter did this. Please don't take it personally. I'll go home and give her a good scolding. This is our nanny, Mrs. Johnson." The other day, I went through all the staff we employ at home, and I discovered Mrs. Johnson's daughter Sophia had recently changed her surname. Sophia. No, it's Sophia. She froze in her tracks. Mrs. Johnson walked over, raised her hand and slapped her. The sound was especially loud in the living room. She said, "Ever since you were little, I've always given in to you. I never thought I'd spoil you like this. Apologize to Miss Johnson right now. Do you want your mother to lose her job?" Everyone froze. Stunned, they watched what was happening. Sophia, however, stood still, without saying a word. I took out my phone and played the audio recording I had made earlier. Sophia's aggressive voice came through immediately. "I added a laxative to your fat-reducing meal. I've successfully interviewed for the position of assistant to the headmaster. And guess what I used for my interview?" After the entire recording had finished playing, the students came back to their senses. They began to discuss it quietly. It turned out that Isabella was the Johnson family's daughter. We'd all been wrong before. It was all because Sophia had acted so convincingly. Isabella doesn't like to show off. Who would have known? Sophia's actions were really excessive. Not only did she make Isabella get diarrhea, but she also stole her essay for the interview. It's really annoying. We were fooled by Sophia. Sophia's face turned pale. Her feet were unsteady. She fell to the ground in an instant. Her eyes were vacant. She muttered in a low voice, "How is this possible? How can you be the Johnson family's daughter? How can it be you? How can it be you?" Michael couldn't believe it when he learned the truth. He wiped his face hard and rubbed his face hard. He angrily kicked Sophia and yelled, "How dare you lie to me?" Michael walked quickly up to me and said anxiously, Isabella, I really was deceived by her. Give me another chance, okay? You are the one I have always loved. After listening to his words, I felt a wave of nausea. I said coldly, leave my house immediately. Michael tightly grasped my hand. His eyes were full of deep affection. Finally, 2 bodyguards carried him out. Next to her, Mrs. Johnson kept urging her daughter to apologize quickly. Sophia then came back to her senses. She ran to me in a panic. She grabbed my pant leg. Tears fell like beans. Crying, she said, I didn't know you were the Johnson family's young lady. Please let me go. I was silent. These days, Sophia has caused me so much harm. I won't forgive her just because she said sorry. She suddenly realized that the live broadcast was still going on. She quickly turned it off, but it was too late. The people in the live broadcast room just came back to their senses. Really, you can't believe anything on the internet. Copying other people's work and passing an interview. And she has the nerve to call herself an independent woman. Sophia, say something. I'm a big fan of yours. Isn't the person upstairs being a bit naive? It's come to this. Do you still consider yourself a fan? She claims to love her daughter, but in reality, she's full of prejudice against women. She uses all kinds of tricks against them. After that day, Sophia's social media platforms were criticized by her former fans for a while. They were finally blocked. The reason was that she spread untrue information. Mrs. Johnson was fired by us. She didn't control her daughter. While we were away, she went into our room and rummaged through our things. Sophia also sent me a lot of messages, begging for forgiveness. I ignored her and blocked her. I thought it was over. I didn't expect a follow-up. That day, as soon as I entered school, I felt that the atmosphere was not quite right. Almost everyone, whether I knew them or not, was staring at me. Their expressions were complicated. It was as if they were trying to say something but couldn't. I felt all these stares on me. It made me feel nervous and uneasy. When I got back to the dorm, Emily immediately came up to me. She opened a post from our school. Isabella, take a look. Who posted this? The post only had one picture. It was a picture of my upper body while I was sleeping in my underwear. The moment I saw it, my mind went blank. It felt as if all the blood in my body had suddenly stopped flowing. I recognized the photo at once. This hotel is owned by Michael and me. I never thought he would go this far. After we made love, he took a photo of me without my knowledge. My hands were shaking as I held the phone. Emily took my hand and said, Isabella, let's call the police. I washed my face with cold water. That calmed me down. I ran out of the dormitory. I found the classroom where Michael was teaching. As soon as he came out, I slapped him across the face. He wasn't angry. Instead, he laughed. Wow, you still dare to stay in school. Those photos have spread. TSK. His friends around him all laughed. I asked curiously, what photos? I don't understand what you're talking about, Michael said, while opening the photos. Which photo are you referring to? I said coldly, the person in the photo is not me. Michael laughed until he was doubled over. Don't be ridiculous. This is your face. I clenched my fists. I said between gritted teeth, it was AI generated. I can use artificial intelligence to generate a picture of you too. Seeing more and more of his classmates gathering around, Michael frowned. You're talking nonsense. I took this photo. How could I not know? I picked up my phone and held it close to my ear. I asked, Officer, can you hear me clearly? Michael suddenly turned pale. Before long, the police took him away. Even though the photo had been deleted, the incident still had a big impact. The guidance counselor immediately called a class meeting. She frowned. I thought she was going to criticize me, but then she suddenly said, we all have the same body structure. I don't understand why a photo is such a big deal. It's just a picture of a woman's body. There's nothing to be ashamed of. I could say that the body in the photo is mine. The cleaning lady could say that too. All the girls could say that. We are all women. There is no difference. We are all adults. I don't need to give you a lecture on junior high school physics, do I? At that moment, I dared to look up. I suddenly understood. There is nothing to be ashamed of. Men eating barbecue naked on the roadside. It's normal. Why should I be afraid to look up because of a photo of my upper body? It was Michael who was wrong, not me. After the class meeting, I felt much relieved. I also noticed that the strange stares had disappeared. Some girls even held an exhibition about women at school. A week later, I ran into Sophia again, outside the school gate. When she saw me, she narrowed her eyes and said, "You can still be so happy." At that moment, I immediately thought of the fact that Michael had sent me the photo. Sophia had instructed him to do so. After all, Michael would never have thought of such a method. Only a woman would understand how to hurt a woman's most vulnerable place. I said coldly, "Is this what you mean by loving your daughter and hating your son? As a woman yourself, you actually used such a method on me." Sophia blinked her eyes. With an innocent face, she said, "Didn't you also make me drop out of school and make my mother lose her job? I'm just returning the favor." I said with a frown, "You caused all this yourself. You caused your mother to lose her job, and you ended up like this." Sophia's expression became ugly. She said, "My dear daughter, you were born better than me. You are richer than me. Why should I love you? I just have to achieve my goal. I can become an independent woman. When you are dating a man, you still wear makeup and dress up to please them." I shook my head and said, "Makeup is our freedom," and then added, "Falling in love is also our freedom. Why do you women put so many restrictions on us? Why aren't there these requirements for men? You're just going from one extreme to the other." Sophia shouted angrily, "Nonsense. You're just looking for a reason to please men." I asked him, "Then why do you wear makeup when you see Michael? You keep saying you love your daughter. What do you really want?" Sophia said with a smile, "I just want to remind you that the man you like is not very good. All men are not to be trusted. Your illusions should wake up." She became more and more emotional, questioned, "Why do I rely on my own efforts, but fell into such a situation? And you rely on the family. You can live so superior." She suddenly pulled out a fruit knife from behind. Without hesitation, I stabbed at me, cried out, "I want you to pay with your life. You get away from me." I didn't have time to hide. Luckily, the bodyguard in the car rushed out quickly. He stood in front of me. He pinned her to the ground. Although I was still shaken, I still trembled and called the police. When the police arrived, they quickly took control of her. Sophia, however, seemed to have lost her mind. She shouted at the top of her lungs, "Why? Why?" I looked at her coldly. "Just because you use any means to achieve your goals. The term independent woman is just a pretext you use to justify your greed and dishonorable behavior. Besides, who actually came up with the concept of an independent woman? Everyone encourages women to be independent. Why is it that if women want to be independent, they have to follow so many rules? They must not fall in love, get married, or come into contact with men. They must not rely on their parents or anyone else for help. They must remain emotionally stable. They must be decisive and firm. They must not be indecisive." Sophia stared at me for a long time. Then she suddenly burst into tears. I was a little confused, because she had been talking about wanting this and wanting that. But to be honest, I had never heard the term independent woman before. The police took her away in the car. I watched her leave. I couldn't help but think back to the day she first arrived at the dormitory. She took my hand enthusiastically, and kept calling us baby. The moment she handed me the sanitary napkin, I felt a little complicated. I wasn't sure if her kindness towards us was from the heart. After returning to school, I also participated in the design of the women's exhibition. I don't want to pursue the so-called independent female label. I just want to be a person who makes me feel satisfied.